The Storks. On the last house in a little village stood a stork's nest. The mother stork sat in it with her 4 young, who stretched out their heads with the pointed black beaks, for their beaks had not yet turned red. A little way off stood the father stork, all alone on the ridge of the roof, quite upright and stiff. He had drawn up one of his legs, so as not to be quite idle while he stood guard. One would have thought he had been carved out of wood, so still did he stand. He thought, it must look very grand that my wife has a guard standing by her nest. They can't tell that it is her husband. They certainly think I have been ordered to stand here. That looks so grand. And he went on standing on one leg. Below in the street, a whole crowd of children was playing, and when they caught sight of the stork, one of the boldest of the boys, and afterward all of them, sang the old verse about the storks. Stork, stork, fly away, stand not on one leg today. The dear wife is in the nest, where she rocks her young to rest. The first he will be hanged, the second will be hit, the third he will be shot, the fourth put on the spit. Just hear what those boys are saying, said the little stork children. They say we're to be hanged and killed. You're not to care for that, said the mother stork. Don't listen to it, and then it won't matter. But the boys went on singing, and pointed at the storks mockingly with their fingers. Only one boy, whose name was Peter, declared that it was wrong to make fun of animals, and he would not join in it at all. The mother stork comforted her children. Don't you mind it at all, she said. See how quiet your father stands, though it's only on one leg. We are very much afraid, said the young storks, and they drew their heads far back into the nest. Now today, when the children came out again to play and saw the storks, they sang their song. The first he will be hanged, the second will be hit. Shall we be hanged and beaten? Asked the young storks. No, certainly not, replied the mother. You shall learn to fly. I'll train you. Then we shall fly out into the meadows and pay a visit to the frogs. They will bow before us in the water and sing, and then we shall eat them up. It will be great fun. And what then? Asked the young storks. Then all the storks will come together, all that are here in the whole country, and the autumn training will begin. Then one must fly well, for that is important, for whoever cannot fly properly will be killed by the general's beak. So take care and learn well when the training begins. But then we shall be killed, as the boys say. And only listen, now they're singing again. Listen to me, and not to them, said the mother stork. After the great parade, we shall fly away to the warm countries, far away from here, over mountains and forests. We shall fly to Egypt, where there are 3 great buildings of stone, which reach to a point and tower above the clouds. They are called pyramids, and are older than a stork can imagine. There is a river in that country which runs out of its bed, and then all the land is turned to mud. One walks about in the mud and eats frogs. Oh, cried all the young ones. Yes, it is glorious there. One does nothing all day long but eat. And while we are so comfortable over there, here there is not a green leaf on the trees. Here it is so cold that the clouds freeze to pieces and fall down in little white rags. It was the snow that she meant, but she could not explain it any other way. And do the naughty boys freeze to pieces too? Asked the young storks. No, they do not freeze to pieces, but they are not far from it, and must sit in the dark room and shiver. You, on the other hand, can fly about in foreign lands where there are flowers and the sun shines warm. Now after some time, the nestlings had grown so large that they could stand upright in the nest and look far around. And the father stork came every day with delicious frogs, little snakes, and all kinds of stork dainties as he found them. Oh, it looked funny when he cut capers before them. He stretched his head quite back upon his tail and clapped with his beak as if he had been a little clapper. And then he told them stories all about the marshes. Listen, now you must learn to fly, said the mother stork one day. And all the 4 young ones had to go out on the ridge of the roof. Oh, how they tottered, how they balanced themselves with their wings, and yet they were nearly falling down. Only look at me, said the mother. Thus you must hold your heads. Thus you must pitch your feet. 1, 2, 1, 2. That's what will help you in the world. Then she flew a little way, and the young ones made a little clumsy leap. There they lay, for their bodies were too heavy. I will not fly, said one of the young storks, and crept back into the nest. I don't care about getting to the warm countries. Do you want to freeze to death here when the winter comes? Are the boys to come and hang you and singe you and roast you? Now I'll call them. Oh no, cried the young stork, and hopped out on the roof again like the rest. On the 3rd day, they could really fly a little, and then they thought they could also rise and hover in the air. They tried it, but down they tumbled, and they had to shoot their wings again quickly enough. Now the boys came into the street again and sang their song. Stork, stork, fly away. Shall we fly down and pick their eyes out? Asked the young storks. No, replied the mother. Let them alone. Only listen to me. That's far more important. 1, 2, 3. Now we fly round to the right. 1, 2, 3. Now to the left, round the chimney. See, that was very good. The last kick with your feet was so neat that tomorrow you shall fly with me to the marsh. Several nice stork families go there with their young. Show them that mine are the nicest, and that you can start proudly. It looks well, and everyone will praise you. But are we not to punish the rude boys? Asked the young storks. Let them scream as much as they like. You will fly up to the clouds and get to the land of the pyramids, and they will have to shiver and not have a green leaf or a sweet apple. Among all the boys down in the street, the one who most often was singing the teasing song was he who had begun it, and he was quite a little boy. He could hardly be more than 6 years old. The young storks certainly thought he was 100, for he was much bigger than their mother and father, and how should they know how old children and grown-up people can be? We will punish that boy, they said. We must first see how you behave at the grand parade, replied their mother. If you get through badly, so that the general stabs you through the chest with his beak, the boys will be right, at least in one way. Let us see. Yes, you shall see, cried the young storks, and then they took great pains. They practiced every day and flew so neatly and so lightly that it was a pleasure to see them. Now the autumn came on. All the storks began to come together, to fly away to the warm countries to stay while it is winter here. That was a parade. They had to fly over forests and villages to show how well they could do it, for it was a long journey they had before them. The young storks did their job so well that they got as a mark remarkably well with frogs and snakes. That was the highest mark, and they might eat the frogs and snakes, and that is what they did. Now we shall punish them, said the young storks. Yes, certainly, said the mother stork. What I have thought of will be the best. I know the pond in which all the little babies lie till the stork comes and brings them to their mothers. The pretty little babies lie there and dream so sweetly as they never dream afterward. All mothers are glad to have such a child, and all children want to have a sister or a brother. Now we will fly to the pond and bring one for each of the children who have not sung the naughty song and laughed at the storks. But he who began the singing, that naughty, ugly boy, screamed the young storks. What shall we do with him? He shall be left with no sister or brother, and he will cry because he has been left out. But that good boy, you have not forgotten him, the one who said it is wrong to laugh at animals. For him we will bring a brother and a sister too. And as his name is Peter, all of you shall be called Peter too. And it was done as she said. All the storks were named Peter, so they are all called even today. The candles. There was a large wax light which was very proud of itself. I was born in wax and made in a mold, it said. I shine better and burn longer than any other lights. My place is in the chandelier, or the silver candlestick. That must be delightful, said the tallow candle. I am only of tallow, only a dip, but I always console myself by remembering that at any rate I am something more than a rushlight. That is only dipped twice, while I am dipped 4 times to give me my thickness. I am quite satisfied. No doubt it is luckier to be born in wax and not in tallow, but one does not order one's place in the world. They get into the glass chandelier in the dining room. I stay in the kitchen, but the kitchen is a good place too. The whole house gets its food from there. There is something more important than food, said the wax candle. Society. To see people shine and to shine oneself. There will be a ball here this evening. Now you'll see that I and all my family will be sent for at once. Scarcely had this been said when all the wax candles were sent for, but the tallow candle came along with them too. The lady of the house herself held it in her dainty hand and carried it into the kitchen. There stood a boy with a basket which was filled with potatoes and apples. All this the good lady gave to the poor boy. And there's a candle for you, my little friend, said she. Your mother works right through the night. She can make use of it. The little daughter of the house stood close by, and when she heard the words, right through the night, she said with hearty joy, I shall be up all night too. We are going to have a ball, and I shall have my large red bows on. How her face beamed. No wax candle can shine like those child eyes. So the tallow candle was laid beneath the basket lid, and the boys went away with it. I wonder where I'm going now, thought the candle. I am on my way to poor people. Perhaps I shall get a brass holder, while the wax candle sits in silver and sees the most elegant people. How delightful it must be to shine before the grand folk. But it is my lot to be tallow, not wax. And the candle came to the poor people, a widow with 3 children in a low little room, right opposite the rich house. God bless the good lady for what she gave, said the mother. 'Tis really a lovely light. It may last the whole night. And the candle was lit. It sputtered. That was a nasty-smelling sulphur match she lit me with. That's not the sort of thing they would be likely to offer the wax candle in the rich house over the way. There, too, candles were lit. They shone over the street. The carriages rumbled along with the smartly dressed ball guests, and the music sounded. Now they are beginning over there, said the tallow candle, and it thought of the little rich girl's beaming face, more beaming than all of the wax lights. I shall never see that side again. Then the smallest of the children in the poorhouse came in, a little girl. She put her arms round the neck of her brother and sister. She had something very important to tell them, so important that it must be whispered. This evening, we are going to have only fancy. We're going to have hot potatoes. And her face beamed with delight. The candle shone on it. It saw there a joy, a happiness, as great as in the rich house yonder, where the little girl had said, "We are to have a ball this evening, and I shall have my large red bows on." It is such a great thing to have hot potatoes, thought the candle. There's just as much joy among the little ones here as over there. And it sneezed on the strength of it. That is to say, it sputtered, which is as much as a tallow candle can do. The table was laid. The potatoes were eaten. Oh, how nice they tasted. It was quite a dinner, and everyone got an apple in the bargain. And the smallest child of all said this little verse: "Thou God so good, my thanks to thee, that thou hast given food to me. Amen." "Wasn't that nicely said, Mother?" said the little one right afterward. "Do not be proud," said the mother. "You should think about the good God who has fed you." The little ones were put to bed, kissed, and went straight off to sleep, and the mother sat and sewed till late into the night, and the candles shone from the rich house over the way, and the music sounded. The stars twinkled all over the houses, as brightly on the poor as on the rich. There was no difference. "That was a lovely evening after all," said the tallow candle, and it thought of the pair of happy children, the one that was lit by the wax candle, and the one that was lit by himself. Snow Queen. In a large city lived a boy named Kay and a girl named Gerda. They played together in the summertime in the fields, and when the snow began to fly, they got their sleds and went skimming down the hills. One day, Kay took his sled down to the public square and was playing with the other boys when he noticed a large sleigh, painted all in white, and in it sat a figure muffled up in a shaggy white fur with a cap on. The sleigh drove 10 times round the square, and Kay fastened his sled to it. It drove faster and faster, and then turned into one of the streets that ran out of the square. The snow began to fall thickly, and Kay thought he had better start back for home. He tried to unfasten his sled, but he found he could not get loose. On they flew as fast as the wind, clean off the ground and over the hedges. At last the big sleigh stopped, and the person driving it stood up. And Kay now saw that it was a lady, tall and slim. "I am the Snow Queen," she said. "Don't you want to come and see what a beautiful place I live in?" The little boy felt so cold he could make no answer. So she came and lifted him out of his sled and put him beside her, tucked the big fur robe around him. Then off they went again. It was a long, dreary winter for Gerda, who missed her little plaything. One day in the spring, when she was out in the woods, an old woman came to her and said, "My child, come and you will see the most beautiful garden in the world." Gerda was fond of flowers, and she followed the old woman, who led her through some winding paths, and at last brought her to the garden. Oh, how sweet and beautiful! There were all kinds of flowers of every season of the year, and Gerda played here many days in the warm sunshine. Before she knew it, winter had come again. One day there was a raven hopping over the snow. "Caw, caw," said the raven. "If you knew what I know, you would be happy." "Why, what do you know?" asked Gerda. "I know where Kay is," said the raven. Now Gerda's heart was all aflutter. "Oh, is he still alive? And will you tell me how I can find him?" "Yes," said the raven, "as soon as I've spoken with the robber girl." Gerda did not know what the raven meant by the robber girl, but very soon she was to know. For in a few days, back came the raven perched on the shoulder of a strong-looking girl. "I am the robber girl," she said. "I live here in the woods, and the menfolk go out and take the treasures of rich men. But we are kind to poor folk. The raven has told me about your little friend Kay, and I've come to take you to him." So away went Gerda with the robber girl, who led her to where a reindeer was standing. She lifted Gerda onto its back, put cushions and robes around her, and said, "Now go, reindeer, away to the Snow Queen's kingdom, where this little girl's playmate is. Take good care of her." Then the reindeer, with Gerda on its back, bounded away, over the hedges and fields, faster and faster. Away up in frozen Lapland, the door of a little hut built right in the snow opened, and an old woman came out to give them food and drink. Then away they went again. At last the reindeer stopped. "We are just outside the Snow Queen's palace," it said. "I cannot go in. But you may enter. Go straight over on the ice, and you will see your playmate. You will find him cold, for he has become one of the Snow Queen's family, and they are all frozen to the heart. If you sing a hymn or weep hard enough, you may break the spell. I will wait here, but do not linger, for I must hurry back." Gerda felt as if she were almost frozen herself, and when she looked all about her, there was nothing but great icebergs, and away in the distance something that looked like a palace of diamonds. But she went on and on and on, and coming close to the great palace, which she now saw as an ice palace, she caught sight of Kay, standing all alone. She ran over the ice to him as fast as she could, and put her arms around him. "Kay, dear little Kay," she cried, "I found you at last." But he stood quite stiff, still and cold, and little Gerda cried bitter, burning tears. She She thought she saw flesh begin to come into his frozen cheeks, and then, remembering what the reindeer had said, she began to sing. Rose blooms, but its glory past. Christmas then comes so fast. And like magic, new life came into the cold body of Kay. And when he saw his little playmate, he cried out in delight. Gerda, is it really you? Where have you been all this time? And where? But Gerda did not stop to answer his questions. We must hurry, she said. The reindeer will think we aren't coming. She caught his arm and quickly led him out of the Snow Queen's domain. In a few moments they were on the back of the reindeer, hurrying back over the fields of snow and ice. Nor did the reindeer stop till it reached the city where Gerda and Kay lived. Kay and Gerda are married now and have children of their own. And of all the stories the children love to hear, they like best the one about the Snow Queen.